Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, India's Minister of External Affairs slams opposition parties for the 1974 transfer of Katchatheevu Island to Sri Lanka, says they gave away Indian fisher folks' rights. India's central bank, the R.B.I, turns 90. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends celebrations in Mumbai, says it plays a pivotal role in advancing the country's growth trajectory. Celebrations erupt in Istanbul as Turkiye's opposition party declares victory in local elections. Istanbul mayor says President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's one-man rule is over. And the US and Israel to hold a virtual meeting on Monday to discuss alternatives to an Israeli military invasion of Rafah. Ceasefire talks resume in Egypt even as fighting rages on near Gaza's biggest hospital. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi has hit out at Tamil Nadu's ruling party, the DMK, for failing to safeguard the interests of the state. The Prime Minister said that new details show the DMK's double standards on the Katchatheevu Island issue. Prime Minister Modi posted on social media platform X, and I quote, "Rhetoric aside, DMK has done nothing to safeguard Tamil Nadu's interests. New details emerging on Katchatheevu have unmasked the DMK's double standards totally. Congress and DMK are family units. They only care that their own sons and daughters rise. They don't care for anyone else. Their callousness on Katchatheevu has harmed the interests of our poor fishermen and fisherwomen in particular," unquote. India's External Affairs Minister and B.J.P leader Subramaniam Jaishankar hit out at the Congress and DMK for mishandling the Katchatheevu issue. Minister Jaishankar said that it is an issue that's been debated in the country's parliament and also in Tamil Nadu circles. He said that in the last 5 years, the Katchatheevu Island and fisher folks issues have repeatedly been raised by various parties in parliament. He said that in the last 20 years, 6,184 Indian fisherfolk have been detained by Sri Lanka and 1,175 Indian fishing vessels seized, detained or apprehended by Sri Lanka.
This issue which has suddenly surfaced, this is a live issue. It is an issue which has been very much debated in Parliament, in Tamil Nadu circles as well. It has been the subject of correspondence between the union government and the state government. Now, every political party in Tamil Nadu has taken a position on this. Two parties, the Congress and the DMK, have approached this matter as though they have no responsibility for it.
Minister Jaishankar's remarks on Katchatheevu Island drew a response from the Congress party. It said that the Indira Gandhi Sirimau Bandaranayake agreement was signed to save 600,000 Tamils at the time.
Government of India, headed by Mrs. Indira Gandhi ji, has signed an agreement called Indira Gandhi Sirimau Bandaranayake agreement. In that time, to save 6 lakh Tamils. To save them, in return, this 6 Katchatheevu Islanders given by the government of India and to the Sri Lankan government. We are very clear that if fishermen are attacked and if our brothers and fishermen in Ramnath district are attacked, we will, India government, we will raise our voice to take back Katchatheevu.
And joining me is my colleague Jessica Taneja. Jessica, as we heard Minister Jaishankar there, the conflict over Katchatheevu is not new. Bring us up to speed with the latest controversy surrounding it.
Well, as you heard from External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar point out that this issue has been taken up in Parliament not once, but he has replied to the opposition on this particular issue at least 21 times. And if you look at the numbers, from January 2024, Ramesh, at least 75 to 90 fishermen were detained by the Sri Lankan Navy, and almost 10 vessels that were also seized. Although the arrests were made and the fishermen were released in a fortnight, that is what the External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar was also pointing out, that when the issue gets escalated, when the fishermen are detained by the Sri Lankan Navy, the Indian government has sprung in action and made sure their release was achieved timely. Well, that is one aspect of it, but the heart of the issue is the fishing territory and the maritime boundary that has been established through the 1974-1976 Pact. And with that controversy brewing now, and with fishermen being detained on a very regular basis, as the External Affairs Minister was pointing out, the issue never seems to die down. And with the government in the state of Tamil Nadu now stressing that this issue be taken up, even the last visit of Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe, the state government of Tamil Nadu had pressed for this issue to be taken up. But at the end of it all, with the Katchatheevu islet issue coming up time and again, it is the marine ecosystem that has been at the center of controversy, where the Sri Lankans claim that the limited resources available in that particular maritime zone has been problematic, and the trouble that they've seen from the Indian side clearly points to the demarcation of the maritime boundary at that time, which is where this issue keeps coming up time and again.
All right, we leave it at that, Jessica. Thank you. That was my colleague Jessica Taneja with more on this latest controversy surrounding the Katchatheevu island. All right, guest now joins me, Dr. Anshu Joshi. She teaches at the Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. Dr. Joshi, welcome to DD India News Hour. Now, I have 4 or 5 fundamental issues to ask of you, which might interest our viewers as well. To begin with, could you in a nutshell talk to our viewers about the Katchatheevu island, its history and significance?
Definitely, Ramesh, and when we understand its strategic location and its history, then we can realize that why our Honorable Prime Minister has come up with all the statements since yesterday, and why our External Affairs Minister is coming up on this particular issue. This island named Katchatheevu, which is now a part of Sri Lanka, always belonged to India. It was a part of India. And it was associated with the Ramanathapuram of Rameshwaram in ancient times. And then during the British rule in India, it was a part of Madras Residency. And it was a very much part of India. It was a territory of India till India got independence in 1947. At that point in time, Ramesh, Sri Lanka was Ceylon. And since that time, when you look on map, this situation, the location of Katchatheevu Dweep or island, it's very strategically located. So from strategic point of view, from trades point of view, and from tourism's point of view, it's a significant location. So Ceylon actually always had an eye on this particular island. And since then, it requested India to hand over this particular island to Ceylon. That time Ceylon, today's Sri Lanka. But it was a part of India. And then that time's Prime Minister Nehru made a statement in 1961 that it's a very small island and he doesn't care about this island. So this kind of a statement gave an indication to Sri Lanka to put its claim on this particular island. And then whatever happened, there was a step-by-step procedure through which later on we can see that how in 1974, that time's Indira Gandhi government callously gave away this part of India to Sri Lanka without, any formal, I would say, process or anything or any reason. It was given away. It was palmed off, I would say. to Sri Lanka. And that times DMK government was very much into, was in hand in gloves with the Indira Gandhi government.
Dr. Joshi, as Minister Jaishankar said this morning, it is a live issue. It did not suddenly come up. So to my mind, it is as much political as it is diplomatic. But I want to ask you about the problems being faced by the Indian fisher folk in particular and their rights. How does one resolve this issue?
See, ownership of this island, first and foremost, Ramesh, was always a bone of contention between India and Sri Lanka. Then in 1974, that times Indira Gandhi government gave away this island to Sri Lanka. And then later, as per the agreement that was done, this agreement or the legality of this transfer and the agreement was challenged in the Indian Supreme Court.
Okay.
As this agreement was not ratified by Indian Parliament or processes were not followed properly. And that is why, to the answer of the RTI that was raised recently, we could get to know this particular fact that illegally this island was given to Sri Lanka. And as per the agreement which was in place between both the nations, this island was given, but it was associated with the livelihood of Tamil fishermen.
Okay.
And they were allowed to dry their nets on the island, and some fishermen were allowed to fish around the this particular island, but not on this island. This is something we need to understand. So that is why because of this particular clause in the agreement, it always remained a bone of contention between both the nations. And because of this, our Indian Navy also faced a lot of difficulties, because when we look at this location of the island, I said it is strategically very important. And we were not allowed to deploy. Obviously, we had given away the island to Sri Lanka, our forces over there. And for that matter, our fishermen were also not allowed on the island, but they were allowed around the island. So that is why they have faced a lot of issues because of this particular clause. And that is what our External Affairs Minister has stated, that it is not something that has surfaced over the night. It's a live issue, and it needs to be resolved.
Dr. Joshi, another question that's agitating many a mind as we speak is the following. Does the government of India want to wrest or reclaim Katchatheevu from Sri Lanka? If so, can it do so, and how? Or is there another solution that will address all or some of India's concerns?
First and foremost, the island was given. Indians, from Indian point of view, we believe and we have seen that there was nothing, in process, and it was given away. So when we look at this particular angle, Ramesh, we can claim the island, but we would need to follow a process, because there was an agreement in place as per that time's Congress government.
Okay.
It was not ratified or it was not recognized in the parliament is a different issue. But now, as per the agreement, whatever the clauses are there, as per the agreement, Indian government may speak with the Sri Lankan government, and considering the strategic location, significance of this particular island, and then what we see from Chinese point of view, that how China tries to, spy around India from Sri Lankan territories. Also, this island holds a great strategic significance. So, Indian government may initiate formal talks with the Sri Lankan government, and definitely we would need to follow the legal process. We can definitely reclaim the island, because it was a part of, historically, it was a territory of India.
Right. And Dr. Joshi, before we close, I have another question to ask of you. How has the Katchatheevu Island issue affected India's ties with Sri Lanka over the decades? Could it hurt the bilateral ties if it's not properly handled?
If it would not be properly handled now at this particular juncture, considering the current geostrategic situations, especially bringing in the Chinese angle, Ramesh, it could definitely hurt the bilateral relations between India and Sri Lanka. And Sri Lanka should never forget that India has always proved itself as a trusted partner, as a trusted friend, as a trusted neighbor to Sri Lanka. So I think that, considering the present scenario around, Sri Lankan government should also understand that why this island holds a great significance for India. and considering the other, key lines related to its significance, Sri Lankan government should also understand the issues related to this island and should cooperate with Indian government.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Dr. Anshu Joshi, thank you once again for joining us and sharing your thoughts and insights with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you. Appreciate it. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Taiwan's Navy chief likely to visit the United States this week amidst provocative actions by China. The final cost of rebuilding the collapsed bridge in the US city of Baltimore could soar to at least $2 billion. And Vietnam aims to protect its forests in 6 north-central provinces, for which it is taking help from the World Bank.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. The Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. The Reserve Bank of India has entered its 90th year of monetary policy making and regulating banks. A ceremony marking 90 years of India's central bank was held in Mumbai on Monday. The event was attended by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman and R.B.I. Governor Shaktikanta Das. Prime Minister Modi released a commemorative coin on the occasion. The Prime Minister congratulated everyone associated with the R.B.I. for this milestone. He said that when India is heading for a centenary, the R.B.I. has a significant role in making India a developed nation.
देश के बैंकिंग सेक्टर में उसके स्ट्रक्चर में क्या बदलाव जरूरी है, इस पर हमें सोचना होगा. इसमें हमें नए फाइनेंसिंग, ऑपरेटिंग एंड बिजनेस मॉडल्स की आवश्यकता हो सकती है. ग्लोबल चैंपियंस की क्रेडिट जरूरतों से लेकर रेहड़ी पटरी वालों तक की जरूरत को, कटिंग एज सेक्टर से लेकर ट्रेडिशनल सेक्टर तक की जरूरतों को हम पूरा कर सकें, ये विकसित भारत के लिए बहुत जरूरी है. विकसित भारत के बैंकिंग विजन के इस पूरे अध्ययन के लिए रिजर्व बैंक बहुत उपयुक्त संस्था है.
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the Bank of International Settlements mentioned RBI's significant role in controlling inflation expectations.
Bank of International Settlements, BIS, has mentioned significant role played by RBI in a very unconventional point. RBI's role in anchoring inflation expectations using communication policy is significant, is what the BIS has said. Apart from forward guidance, it was used for explaining the rationale. The policy of communication management has been used for explaining the rationale for the measures taken by the RBI. Thus, in the economy, confidence was built, and then optimism, if I can say so, optimism has been held up even during pandemic.
For his part, RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das highlighted that India's GDP growth is robust, inflation is moderating, the financial sector is stable and that the forex reserves are at an all-time high.
monetary and fiscal policies adopted in our country went a long way in shielding our economy from these shocks and helped us to emerge even stronger than before. It's a matter of satisfaction that today our GDP growth is robust, inflation is moderating, the financial sector is stable, the external sector remains resilient, and the forex reserves are at an all-time high.
And joining me is Professor Anil Kumar. Professor Kumar teaches at the Delhi School of Economics. Professor Kumar, welcome. To begin with, I want to ask you, how would you describe the history and accomplishments of the RBI spanning 9 decades?
The history of RBI, it started off on 1st April 1935 as a result of the passing of RBI Act 1934. It has played a crucial role in the development of the country, in shaping the monetary policy of the country, maintaining liquidity over the years, regulating markets, managing foreign exchange, and promoting development. Whether it's a matter of containing inflation and also having a balance between inflation, bank rate, and the growth of the country. The RBI particular and has been appreciated by the international organizations also. And it has very well regulated the monetary policy, maintained the monetary stability, and operated the credit and currency system of the country. So I think that starting from 1935, when it was initially a private shareholders bank, it was nationalized in the year 1949. And after that, there is no looking back so far as RBI is concerned. It has entered into the 90th year. And to commemorate the occasion, this 90 rupees coin is released by our Honorable Prime Minister, which denotes the rich history and accomplishment of RBI spanning 9 decades, 90 years.
Indeed. Professor Kumar, let me now take a moment to dive into the specifics of the issue at hand. How would you analyze the central bank's role in fostering development, particularly in agriculture? Do you think the RBI has acquitted itself well?
Actually, so far as agriculture sector is concerned, RBI has an agriculture credit department to conduct the research regarding various problems of the agriculture credit. It also advises the central government, state government, and cooperative societies on the various aspects of agriculture growth. Initially, it set up the Agriculture Refinance Corporation called ARC in the year 1963 to work as refinancing agency in providing medium-term and long-term agriculture credit to support investment credit needs of agriculture development. After that, it established in 1982 NABARD, that is National Agriculture Bank and Rural Development, which took over the function of erstwhile Agriculture Credit Department of RBI. So the Department of Refinance of NABARD is looking after the core functions of agriculture finance that includes the short-term loans, refinance facilities, medium-term and long-term refinance, and also act as an agency to channelize the subsidy for various schemes of Government of India.
Now, Professor Kumar, how do you view the RBI's role after India liberalized its economy in the early 1990s? And its role since then insofar as monetary policy or supervision and regulation are concerned?
Yeah, with the liberalization of the economy in 1990s, the RBI shifted its focus to core central banking functions such as monetary policy, bank supervision, regulation, overseeing the payment system, and developing the financial markets into this country. Today, what we see is the result of various institutions. The monetary institution infrastructure was created by RBI over the years. It has played a crucial role in shaping the monetary policy since 1990s, in particular, maintaining the liquidity in the country, regulating the markets, and managing the foreign exchange as well. And at the same time, to promote the development of the country. The multifaceted contribution of RBI is instrumental in steering the Indian economy towards stability and growth. Confined to the banker of the government, but it has assumed various roles, particularly after the liberalization of the economy in 1990s.
And looking ahead, finally, Professor Kumar, do you foresee any future challenges for the central bank?
I think that at present there are two challenges. The challenges are number one, the dynamics of inflation. Setting up the policy rate, bank rate, and balancing growth with that, that's a very big challenge, which I think that the monetary policy of RBI is facing. There has been persistent shocks to food prices. The geopolitical tensions are coming again and again. These are posing a big challenge to RBI in managing its fight against inflation. Number two is that of advent of digital currency, that is cryptocurrency. Of course, the RBI has introduced the central bank regulated digital currency, but at the same time, it has complicated the all policy initiatives of RBI. So for me, there are two big challenges. One is controlling inflation with the priorities of the growth, and second is the digital currency.
All right, on that note, Professor Anil Kumar, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, let's now get you the latest on the world's largest democratic election in India. So as I said, some more news on India's general election. The Election Commission has strongly reprimanded Congress leader Supriya Srinath and B.J.P leader Dilip Ghosh for their statements and said that the Commission will not tolerate any such statements in future. The Commission also advised them to adhere to the Election Code of Conduct. Tamil Nadu B.J.P President and party's Coimbatore candidate K. Annamalai held a roadshow ahead of the Lok Sabha election. Meanwhile, Karnataka Congress Chief and Deputy Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar campaigned for Soumya Reddy, the party's candidate from Bangalore South Lok Sabha seat. In other news, BJP's Manifesto Committee meeting under the chairpersonship of Union Minister Rajnath Singh is on at the BJP headquarters in the national capital, New Delhi. Piyush Goyal, Ashwini Vaishnav and other party leaders are attending this meeting. A former AAP lawmaker from Punjab's Patiala, Dharamveer Gandhi, on Monday joined the Congress in the presence of senior party leaders. Dharamveer Gandhi is likely to contest as a Congress candidate from Patiala. In a recent press conference, BJP's candidate from New Delhi, Bansuri Swaraj, slammed the Indie Alliance rally in Ramlila Maidan on Sunday, calling it a flop show of corruption.
दिल्ली के रामलीला मैदान में हम सभी ने भ्रष्टाचार का एक फ्लॉप शो देखा। मुझे लगता है कोई भी शब्दकोश उठाकर देख लीजिएगा, रैली शब्द की परिभाषा में कल जो फ्लॉप शो इंडी अलायंस ने पेश करा वो कतई फिट नहीं बैठता। यहां तक कि मैं विपक्ष से निवेदन करूंगी कि अगर आपके पास नहीं है तो डिक्शनरी मैं भेज देती हूं। कम से कम रैली शब्द की परिभाषा तो देख लीजिए। रैली का अर्थ है बड़ी जनसभा।
The Central Election Committee of India's Congress Party today held its meeting in New Delhi. The meeting was attended by Congress President Mallikarjun Kharge, Congress Parliamentary Party Chairperson Sonia Gandhi and General Secretary K.C. Venugopal. The meeting discussed issues related to India's parliamentary election. Senior Congress leaders of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana were present at this meeting. Still to come on DD India News Hour. The US and Israel to hold a virtual meeting on Monday to discuss alternatives to an Israeli military invasion of Rafah. In a setback to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkiye, the opposition makes huge gains in local elections. And the Indian Air Force's exercise codenamed Gagan Shakti begins to test coordination, deployment and employment of air power in a short and intense battle scenario.
As the cycle of accountability returns, the time has come when the biggest democracy chooses to write another chapter in its glorious history. Development, justice, regionalism, a big political canvas. Everything will be put to test in this mega battle for glory. DD India dissects what makes elections 2024 the battle royale in Indian politics. Data and analysis free from bias to help you understand why India matters. The Great Indian Election on weekdays at 8:30 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A quick recap of the headlines. India's Minister of External Affairs slams opposition parties for the 1974 transfer of Katchatheevu Island to Sri Lanka, says they gave away Indian fisher folks' rights. India's central bank, the R.B.I, turns 90. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attends the celebrations in Mumbai. And celebrations erupt in Istanbul as Turkiye's opposition party declares victory in local elections, deals a blow to President Recep Tayyip Erdogan and his party. The United States and Israel are expected to hold a virtual meeting on Monday to discuss the U.S. government's alternative proposals to an Israeli military offensive on Rafah. Last week, Israel asked to reschedule the meeting days after Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu abruptly cancelled the talks over the passage of a Gaza ceasefire resolution by the UN Security Council that the US decided not to veto. The US abstention from the vote pointed to frustration with Netanyahu, who rebuked Washington, D.C. over the move. Meanwhile, Gaza ceasefire talks resumed once again in Cairo on Sunday, even as fighting rages on around Gaza's biggest hospital, the Al-Aqsa Hospital. Egypt is holding an Israeli delegation for a new round of talks in a bid to secure a truce with Gaza's Hamas rulers. The talks resume even as Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to keep up military pressure on Hamas while showing flexibility in the talks, saying that only that combination would bring about the release of hostages. Hamas would not be present at the talks in Cairo as the group would wait to hear from Cairo mediators on the outcome of their talks with Israel first. The two sides have stepped up negotiations mediated by Qatar and Egypt on a 6-week suspension of Israel's offensive in return for the proposed release of 40 of the 130 hostages still held by Hamas fighters in Gaza. And joining me is my colleague Alex Kadiev from Tel Aviv. Alex, what more can you tell us about the US-Israel talks on the US government's alternative proposals to an Israeli military offensive on Rafah?
Well, Ramesh, there will certainly be tense talks between the two sides. We know they were scheduled to be in person last week, but out of frustration that the United States did not block a UN Security Council resolution calling for a ceasefire and the release of the hostages, Prime Minister Netanyahu decided to cancel those talks, and then the following day was sending messages to the White House to reschedule them. When that information was made public, Prime Minister Netanyahu denied trying to reschedule the talks and now has opted to have a virtual meeting instead. And those machinations, those negotiations, just to have this conversation in the first place, show you the depth of the rift between the United States and the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Now leading the Israeli delegation on this virtual call will be Ron Dermer, the Minister for Strategic Affairs, who we understand has been pushing for this meeting to happen, has been putting pressure on Prime Minister Netanyahu to have this meeting happen. On the other side, you'll have Jake Sullivan, the US National Security Advisor, as well as officials from the Departments of Defense, State and the U.S. intelligence community. We know for now the U.S. position on an operation in Rafah is very clear. It should not happen because it will lead to mass casualty events. And clearly, they say they want to see a workable plan for the evacuation of civilians. Now, just yesterday at a press conference, Prime Minister Netanyahu said the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, are working on a plan to evacuate civilians. He provided no details and no information on how that plan may work. And the reality is you have 1 million people there or thereabouts in the southern city of Rafah. They cannot go north because that is still a war zone, still an area where the Israelis do not let civilians return. And they cannot go south because they're stuck against the border of Egypt. For now, we don't know where they could go. Ramesh.
Alex, talking about the civilians that you were just mentioning, what's the situation around the Al-Aqsa hospital inside Gaza?
Well, you have two different operations there. You have the Al-Aqsa Hospital, where there was a specific strike outside of the hospital's main building in a tent, which the IDF says was holding one member of Palestinian Islamic Jihad. 2 people were killed. Several, including journalists who were there, were also injured. So really the first time that a strike has hit so close to the Al-Aqsa Hospital. But the big news this morning is with the Al-Shifa Hospital, which is Gaza's largest hospital in northern Gaza, northwest of Gaza City. There, the Israeli Defense Forces say their 2-week raid has ended. They are clearing out from the Al-Aqsa Hospital, and we've seen unverified videos on social media and heard from witnesses on the ground saying that the devastation of this 2 weeks of fighting between the IDF and Hamas fighters in and around the Al-Aqsa Hospital has absolutely devastated the area around Gaza's largest hospital.
And last but not the least, Alex, how are the ceasefire talks coming along in Cairo?
Well, the ceasefire talks are ongoing. We don't have a lot of information about exactly how they have evolved, but we know that they are carrying on. The big question, of course, is how will they reach a deal and on what can they reach a deal? The last proposal on the table was put forward by the United States. It was agreed by Israel. It would see 40 Israeli hostages, women, the injured, the elderly, released in exchange for 700 Palestinian prisoners, 100 of which are serving life sentences for murder. And that was those were the terms accepted by the Israelis, rejected by Hamas because Israel, they say, was not going to allow enough civilians back into northern Gaza and was not going to have a more permanent ceasefire and withdraw all of its troops from Gaza. Those were the demands from Hamas. Israel could not contend with the idea of removing all of its troops from Gaza and the full return of civilians to the north of the enclave. And so for now, those talks are still gridlocked, but making slow progress in Cairo.
Alex, thank you. Alex Caddier reporting there from Tel Aviv. And staying in the region, in Turkiye, the main opposition party secured substantial victories in Sunday's local elections, maintaining control over crucial cities. The results showcase the Republican People's Party retaining its grip on key urban areas. With most of the votes counted, Republican People's Party leader Ekrem İmamoğlu led by 10 percentage points in the mayoral race in Istanbul, Turkey's largest city. His party retained Ankara and gained 15 other mayoral seats in cities nationwide, including Izmir and Bursa, Adana and the resort of Antalya.
Emir verir, talimat verir. Bir kişi.
The nation itself gives the order and the instructions, not just one person. Officials receive instruction from the nation. Period of one-man rule is over as of today. It is done. The republic and democracy to go full speed ahead from now on.
Today, the voters made a very important decision. The election results showed that the voters decided to establish a new politics in Turkey. The voters decided to change the 22-year-old picture of Turkey and open the door to a new political climate in our country.
Ülkemizde yeni bir
The election results of Turkiye's local polls were a major setback for President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, since he had hoped to take back control of the cities soon after clinching a third term as the country's president. For the first time since Erdogan came to power 21 years ago, his AK party faced a defeat at the ballot box across the country. Acknowledging his historic defeat in the polls, President Erdogan said that the elections did not end as they had hoped, but he said that it would not be an end for them, but rather a turning point.
March 31st is not an end for us, but a turning point. The Turkish nation has conveyed its message to population by using the ballot box in the March 31st municipal elections.
And now to news from North America, where Governor Wes Moore of the U.S. state of Maryland on Sunday urged Republican lawmakers to work with Democrats to approve the U.S. government funding needed for rebuilding the collapsed bridge in Baltimore's harbor and to get the port economy back on its feet. The Biden government released $60 million in initial emergency aid on 28th March to assist in cleaning up the bridge debris and reopening the port. U.S. government officials have told Maryland lawmakers that the final cost of rebuilding the bridge could soar to at least $2 billion. The Indian Air Force's Gagan Shakti drills began on Monday. It aims to test coordination, deployment and employment of air power in a short and intense battle scenario. The IAF will be exercising its entire war-fighting machinery to validate its concept of operations and war-waging capability. The focus of the exercise is to check the viability of operational plans. Gagan Shakti 2024 will see the Air Force carry out drills in coordination with the Army and Navy. All fighter aircraft, newly inducted assets, transport aircraft, radars, air defense systems will be used in a network-centric environment. The power of India's supersonic cruise missile, the BrahMos, was witnessed during the weekend over the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The Indian Army tested the capability of the BrahMos supersonic cruise missile, striking the long-range target with precision and lethality. The long-range surface-to-air and air-to-air missiles were tested with state-of-the-art technology. During this time, the entire sky above the island group became as bright as day. The BrahMos supersonic cruise missile is a medium-range weapon that can be launched from ships, submarines, fighter aircraft or transporter erector launcher. Recognized as the best and fastest precision-guided weapon globally, the BrahMos has significantly bolstered India's deterrence capabilities in the 21st century. Meanwhile, an Army Commanders Conference is on in India's capital, New Delhi. The apex leadership of the Army is discussing emerging threat scenario, operational challenges and reforms and plans for modernization. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh will be addressing the conference on Tuesday. One of the key items on the agenda will be cyber security, integration with other services and futuristic warfare technologies. Welfare of ex-servicemen, administrative and reforms will also figure. The Army Commanders Conference, the first this year, was held in virtual mode on 28th March and thereafter the two-day physical mode began this morning. The Commander-in-Chief of the Thai Navy, Admiral Adung Pam Lam, is visiting India for talks with Indian Navy Chief Admiral R. Harikumar on maritime cooperation between the two nations. He was accorded a ceremonial tri-service Guard of Honor in New Delhi. He also paid homage to the fallen heroes at the National War Memorial. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh announced on Monday that defence exports have crossed $2.5 billion mark for the first time in the country's history. The minister wrote on social media platform X that Indian defence exports have scaled to unprecedented heights and crossed $2.5 billion mark in financial year 23-24 for the first time in the history of independent India. With this, India registers a growth of 32.5% over the previous fiscal years. In other news, a New Delhi court on Monday sent Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal to judicial custody until 15th of April in a money laundering case linked to the liquor policy. Kejriwal was arrested in the Delhi excise policy linked money laundering case on 21st March. The investigative team filed a remand request on Thursday, claiming that they need more time to question Kejriwal. And still to come on DD India News Hour. India's Project Tiger, which was launched on 1st April 1973, makes significant strides in conservation. And Italy's Yannick Sinner all set to move to a career-high second ATP ranking as he successfully lifts the Miami Open title. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. India's Project Tiger was established in response to an alarming decline in the population of tigers. Over the last 50 years, Project Tiger, which was launched on 1st April of 1973, has achieved much success, making significant strides in tiger conservation. Akshay Dongre reports.
India is the home to the world's largest population of the magnificent tiger. According to estimates, the tiger population of India is over 3,500, which makes India home to over 70% of all the tiger population in the world. A major credit for this incredible feat also goes to a project launched 52 years back. The Government of India has launched Project Tiger on 1st April 1973 to promote conservation of the tiger and biodiversity. Project Tiger has been the largest species conservation initiative of its kind in the world. Over the past 50 years, Project Tiger has achieved commendable success, making significant strides in tiger conservation. Initially covering 9 tiger reserves, spanning around 18,000 square kilometers, the project has flourished into a remarkable accomplishment with 53 reserves spread across over 75,000 square kilometers, effectively covering 2.3% of India's total land area. Currently, the largest tiger population of 785 is in Madhya Pradesh, followed by Karnataka 563, Uttarakhand 560 and Maharashtra 444. The Government of India has taken several measures to save tigers under Project Tiger initiative. Measures taken under Project Tiger: protection of tiger habitats, anti-poaching measures, community involvement, monitoring and research, collaborations with other countries, implementation of laws and regulations. India has achieved several key outcomes by implementing Project Tiger. Increase in tiger population from an estimated 2,200 in 2018 to over 3,600 in 2024. Habitat conservation, ecological balance, community involvement. Continued efforts to protect tiger habitats and corridors are crucial for securing the future of India's tigers and their ecosystems for generations to come. Akshay Dongre reporting for DD India.
Severe hailstorms and thunderstorms have battered large parts of China, prompting the country's meteorological observatory to issue a blue alert for extreme weather for the following days. Thunderstorms, gales and hail swept the region with a maximum wind speed reaching 28.4 meters per second. Heavy gusts toppled greenhouses, trees and street lamps, causing an extensive damage to crop of rapeseed and corn. And now to all the news in the world of sport with Deepika. Deepika, take it away.
Thanks and good afternoon, Ramesh. There's a good news for the tennis fans because Jannik Sinner has finally lifted the title trophy. So Italy's Jannik Sinner won the ATP Miami Open Masters 1000 title on Sunday. Sinner dominated Grigor Dimitrov by 6-3 and 6-1 to win the Miami Open for the first time and rise to world number 2. The Australian Open champion, who scooped a second Masters 1000 title following his success in Canada last year, has won 25 out of his last 26 matches and has only lost 3 times since last year's US Open. The 22-year-old will take over the world number 2 ranking from his rival Carlos Alcaraz on Monday. In soccer, the marquee clash between Manchester City and Arsenal in Premier League ended in a goalless draw at Etihad. Defending champion City came closest to finding a winner when Nathan headed straight at goalkeeper David from a corner. Usually prolific Man City were restricted to just 1 shot on goal, and it was the first time in 58 games that they have not scored at home. Gabriel Jesus had Arsenal's best chances, firing 2 shots just wide in the first half and then narrowly failing to meet an inviting cross from Bukayo Saka. Mikel Arteta's Arsenal, in the hunt for their first league title in 20 years, are second in the table on 65 points with 9 games remaining, while Man City are third with 64. On to cricket now. Mumbai Indians will face Rajasthan Royals at the iconic Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai on Monday. Well, Mumbai Indians have had a terrible start to their season under new captain Hardik Pandya. They lost to Gujarat Titans in their opening game by 6 runs, that too in Ahmedabad. Now, in their second encounter, they conceded a record 277 runs in their 20 overs against Sunrisers Hyderabad before being restricted to 246 for a loss of 5 wickets in Hyderabad. After 2 disappointing results, Mumbai now will be playing in front of their home fans for the first time in this IPL season. So it will be interesting to see the reception Hardik gets at the ground, which is the home of Rohit Sharma, who the all-rounder replaced as the MI skipper. While Rajasthan Royals are 2 of the 3 unbeaten sides in IPL thus far, they started with a 21 victory against Lucknow Super Giants in Jaipur. And in their second game, Sanju Samson and company got the better of Delhi Capitals in a tight affair. Earlier, Delhi Capitals defeated Chennai Super Kings by 20 runs in Visakhapatnam on Sunday evening. Rishabh Pant's half-century, followed by a 3-wicket haul from Mukesh Kumar, helped Delhi team register their first victory of this IPL season. Chasing 192, Chennai Super Kings lost quick wickets, but Ajinkya Rahane and Daryl Mitchell kept them in the game. Then wickets at regular intervals and some disciplined bowling from Delhi Capital bowlers restricted Chennai Super Kings at 171 for a loss of 6 wickets. Earlier in the match, Rishabh Pant and David Warner hit half-centuries and propelled Delhi Capitals to 191 for a loss of 5 wickets. Since yesterday was a double-header day, Gujarat Titans also registered a 7-wicket victory over Sunrisers Hyderabad at Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad on Sunday to take their second victory of the tournament. So Gujarat managed to limit Sunrisers to 162 for a loss of 8 wickets in 20 overs, and thanks to Mohit Sharma's 3-wicket haul before chasing down the target with 5 balls to spare. Sai Sudarshan top scored with 45, while David Miller and Shubman Gill chipped in with knocks of 44 and 36. Earlier, Sunrisers Hyderabad's captain Pat Cummins won the toss and elected to bat first. Most of their batters got started but failed to convert them into big scores. Henry Klassen blasted 24 of 13 before missing a straighter one from leg spinner Rashid Khan to be bowled at a crucial juncture. Abhishek Sharma scored 29 in 20 balls while Abdul Samad hit 29 of 14. Mohit Sharma was the pick of the bowlers with 3 wickets in hand. Staying on cricket, Pakistan Cricket Board on Sunday reappointed Babar Azam as the white ball captain in the latest of a series of changes to get the team back on track for this year's T20 Cricket World Cup. Babar Azam stepped down as the captain from all 3 formats in November last year after Pakistan crashed out of the 50-over Cricket World Cup in the first round against India. Now, Pakistan battled a disastrous World Cup in India last year where they failed to qualify even for the semi-finals. And afterwards, Babar Azam stepped down from the captaincy of all formats and was replaced by Shan Masood as the Test captain and Shaheen Afridi as T20 captain. The then head coach Mikey Arthur was replaced by team director Mohammad Hafiz, under whom Pakistan suffered a 3-0 Test whitewash in Australia and a 4-1 series defeat in T20 series in New Zealand as well. So that was a quick wrap from the world of sports. Back to you, Rami.
Thank you, Deepika. Now, before we close, a Korean orchestra called the KBS Symphony Orchestra reached a monumental milestone with its 800th regular concert. The KBS Symphony Orchestra, the best in the Korean classical music scene, made its debut in December 1956 by performing a symphony for the first time in Korea. The orchestra has been part of key moments in Korean history and travels across the globe as well. And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of DD India News Hour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and Instagram. You can also check out our website ddindia.co.in. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.